99.7 DJX, the Ben Davis and Kelly K Show podcast.
Supplying every demand.
On demand.
I had quite the car adventure yesterday.
Okay.
So I'm teaching my daughters how to drive, right? And so we decide to go down to Turkey Run, which is, part of the Parklands there. We go drive down there to go for a jog on the paths. So I take them in the 1999 Volkswagen Jetta that I have had for 20 years that has 285,000 miles on it. And so we're driving down. Everything's fine. Get off the Snyder Billtown Road. All of a sudden, my daughter, Isabella, who's driving, she's like, I can't shift it out of fifth. I'm like, huh. Uh-oh. All right, that's weird. Because it's a manual transmission, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, all right, well, here, turn off the car. Let me, get in the driver's seat and see what's going on. And so I get in the driver's seat, and I was able to shift it into first. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, hey, I don't know. Maybe it was stuck, whatever. So you're good to go. So anyways, we are driving there and realize that she's having to ride the clutch, and she's like, I'm like, you're in third gear, you're not in first. Well, turns out something in the car decided to brake, and we didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something sounds significant.
Yeah.
When you say something, it sounds significant.
Right. So we realize that she cannot shift out of she cannot shift into first, second, fifth. She can only have use of third and fourth gear. And so
that sounds like a significant problem.
Yes. So we're going up this hill, and if you're going up a steep grade, you always downshift into a smaller gear, so you give your car a little bit of that extra torque and momentum to get up.
Maybe below third.
And I'm like, hey, downshift to second. And at that point, we didn't realize that she couldn't get down to second. So she downshifted to second, but it was actually fourth. And so, she stalls it out there on the hill. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay.
Oh no.
And so, she starts the car, and she manages to, and I'm like, okay, do it off to the side of the road. And so she runs it to the side of the road. And so I get in the driver's seat. I'm like, all right, I'm going to figure this thing out, And my poor daughter, she's thinking that she did something wrong. She's like, oh God, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You are being very brave teaching them manual transmission, from the get-go. I didn't learn that until I was well into my 20s.
Yeah. Well, we're past that point. So, anyways, so I try to turn around on this. So I'm like, all right, so we're just going to turn around and we're going to figure this out. So I start to turn around on this hill, right? Mm-hmm. And at that point, and it's just this little 2-lane road that's going through the park, right? And it's this steep hill. And I start turning around, and then I realize, oh, I can't go in reverse.
Well, that sounds essential as well.
Yeah, so I'm completely blocking the 2-lane highway. I'm perpendicular. I'm not parallel. I'm across the road. And I'm like,
that's a problem.
I'm like, oh, this is not good. I'm like, girls, get out of the car. I'm like, get out of the car. And so they're off to the side of the road. They're behind the guardrail. And so I'm like, all right, let me try to shift it into reverse again. And so I try to shift it into reverse again. And again, my stupid car, who for some reason, everything's broken on it now. Everything's broken.
You're talking to her really meanly. You talk about her in a nice way.
Okay, so
she has a lot of miles on her. She has been a faithful car for you for many years.
For many years, right. All right, so sorry. She's broken down piece of trash decided... She
is a grandma car.
This broken down piece of trash decided not to shift it into reverse. And so I end up riding the car into the ditch.
Oh my God.
And so I'm like, all right, that ain't good. So I'm like,
you're calling a tow truck. Have you called the tow truck at this point?
I haven't yet, no. So a guy in a big pickup truck comes by. He's like, hey, you need help? And, pushing it out.
Yes, I do, sir.
I said, yes. I'm like, here's the thing. My car can't shift into reverse. So I don't know. And so we try to like push it out of this ditch. No good. And so I was like, thank you. You know, I'm getting ready to call like a tow truck. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And
You left out the part that you just said can't go into reverse, but you left out the part like and 4 of the 5 gears.
yeah, well, I didn't know that fully. I just knew that I
right.
couldn't get it into reverse and I couldn't get it into first or second.
Got it.
So I'm just like, okay, so this broken down piece of trash car. And so, anyway, so my car's in a ditch there, like close to Turkey Run on this hill. Kelly, like my youngest daughter's taking a video of this. And,
Oh my God, she's videoing it.
and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so this guy, this mountain biker in his SUV comes by and he's like, hey, do you need help? I'm like, yes.
Please.
I'm like, do you have a tow line? And he's like, yeah, I think I do. And so I'm like, sweet. And so he hooks me up and actually tows me out of the ditch. Like uses his SUV and pulls me out of the ditch. And I'm like, okay.
To the side of the road where then you still can't drive anywhere else?
No, to the middle of the road, but I'm on now a downward slope, so I can just start the car and shift it into the only 2 gears I have available, third, and get going. And I'm like, all right, girls, get in the car. We're just going to go home. Okay, we're not going to, like, I didn't know the extent of what was happening. We're just going to go home. And so I drive from like Turkey Run all the way back to St. Matthews, only using third and fourth gears in my car. So at that point, you know, I'm like talking to my my daughter sends a text message of our car in a ditch to my wife who's out of town doing gigs. And so she's like, holy crap, what is going on? And I'm like, and so I had to talk to my wife. I'm like, okay, here's what happened. And so now we're thinking, okay, maybe it's time.
Maybe it's time? Maybe it's time?
Well, this is
was a neon sign.
Well, this is
time.
This is kind of what my wife was saying. She's like, now you've just now decided that this car is not necessarily the safest car to have. And I'm like, yeah, I think maybe now's the time.
Because what if that would have happened like right after when your daughters are driving by themselves?
I know, Kelly,
they're going to get to that point.
I know.
Okay. I'm so glad that you have 2 wives that can tell you this.
I make
your
so many
actual wife and your work wife.
I know. I make so many mistakes that I'm just. So
okay, so you're going car shopping soon.
Well, I don't. I mean, they don't need a car. You know, it's like they don't need a car. My wife has a car. I have a car. I mean, we're good, but I don't think the Jetta is in play anymore.
Nope, it's not in play. So, we're going to take her off the table.
I think
we're going to let her enjoy retirement.
I think this broken down piece of trash car that I've had for
she doesn't deserve that
20 some years.
It's given you many, 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 many years of faithful service. Not ending up in a ditch.
Well,
this is her strongly worded message to you, sir, that she's tired.
I think I'll see if I can, once my daughter wakes up, I'll see if she can text me some of those photos that we can post of my car.
You probably need to.
Of my car in the ditch.
She's documented that whole thing.
You know what? Here's the thing. Thank you. And this is really my entire point of this long diatribe. Thank you to the very helpful bystanders who came and, 1, offered to push my car out of the ditch, and then 2, literally hooked my car up to their car and pulled me out of the ditch. So thank you.
Yeah, that was really nice. They did what you they didn't do what you typically do in the past. Like, someone else is going to take care of that and pass you up.
Yeah, that was me as a younger, less, I don't know, a younger.
Good Samaritans.
Yeah,
that's great.
Right. So thank you to those good Samaritans that helped me out of the ditch there. And by the way,
did anybody know who you were?
If you happen to pass me while my car was in the ditch, you know, just know
what was happening.
That's the story. Okay.
Did anybody know? Did anybody know?
I don't think so.
That your voice booms out of the DJX radio box.
No, I don't think so. I think that's fine. And you know that little slice of anonymity is good every now and then. You know.
Well, now they might.
Now they might.
Especially after the pictures and the video.
I know. I just think it's funny. It's like I'm like getting my car pulled out of the ditch. I'm like trying to, maneuver it and everything. I look over and I see my youngest filming this.
Of course she is, because she knows what a golden moment this is.
She's like, I got to show mommy. I got to show mommy this.
Yes.
Ha.
She knows this is ammo for later, whatever. Something. She knows this is the moment that she might be able to use later.
Yeah. All right. So, glad to see Monday, actually. So...